Greetings, dear viewers and friends. This is the first time I'm sharing about how to communicate and integrate into society, just like my previous content, all of which are very practical matters, especially for young people just stepping into life. These are things everyone should know. This content is divided into 3 parts. Part 1, making friends and positioning yourself. Part 2, marriage and career orientation. And Part 3, how to work and the art of giving gifts. This is Part 2. You can review the previous part on the channel's homepage or in the comments section below this video. I know your life is very busy, but what I'm sharing isn't easy to grasp, especially not easy to master. If you only listen once, my advice is to watch until the end. Listen repeatedly, even when you're upset or doing household chores. Share and save it to a playlist for your convenience. I'm certain that, within just a few short months, your mindset will grow tremendously, reaching a new height in your life. In a person's life, before the age of 40, there are 4 major turning points: education, career, marriage, and choosing a profession. Regarding education, during university years, there's not much to discuss, except that in university, you may have some freedom to choose. However, most of the time, it's arranged by your parents, or you may not have enough capacity to choose for yourself. What you can control is the skills you acquire. If you gain good skills or master skills that few others have, this will be highly beneficial for your future development. The problem is, at this stage, not many young people are willing to put in the effort. At this age, people are not mature enough, not thinking about plans for when they're 30 or 40. Teenagers and those in their early 20s don't have much to worry about. They only care about passing exams, having fun, dating, making friends, and sleeping. They feel there's too little time. How could they possibly have the energy to seriously learn skills? Take, for example, a student in electronics and information technology. In the end, very few truly master microchip technology or can follow a professor to design and complete experiments. Those who do, when they graduate, will become true talents with high salaries. But the issue is, to become one of those few, you must pay a great price in sweat and effort. Anyone in this field understands this clearly. As for which skills are good, it's hard to compare. The income of an academic at the Academy of Sciences may not be higher than that of a carpenter who trained for 5 years and became a construction contractor. In general, I believe that whether you attend a top university or not is less important than choosing the right major. A good major will open a wide path in society, while a lesser-known major at a top university will make it hard to advance far in society. For example, archaeology at the University of Social Sciences and Humanities. Do you get my point? Choosing or learning a skill is the first turning point in your life. However, very few people can seize this turning point, mainly due to their young age and lack of experience. If you have uninformed parents, you might stray from a broad, bright path to a narrow, thorny one. Worse yet, this happens all too often. So, when your younger siblings reach this turning point, don't forget to help them, especially before the age of 25. This turning point is still within your control. A very important point when choosing a major, which many people easily overlook, is that before choosing a major, the first thing isn't whether it's trendy or easy to find a job. The first thing is to examine all the relationships within your family. Look for close relatives, see who among them has power or status, what field they're in, and whether you can rely on them. If so, choose a major that allows you to develop under their support. For example, if a relative is the deputy director of a large shipbuilding yard, analyze whether they can hold that position for the next 4 to 5 years and whether there are any uncertainties. This may sound harsh, but there's no other way. You must analyze coldly. If there's potential to rely on them, choose a traditional manufacturing major or something similar. Finding a job and developing later will be much smoother. Employment is also a major turning point. Some people study up to a master's or doctorate, chasing societal trends, and only start working at 33, landing an average job. But looking back, the neighbor's kid dropped out at 17, went out into the world, drove for a garment factory owner for a few years. Through intelligence and hard work, he learned some tricks of the trade, then returned to his hometown to open a small garment workshop. Now, he has a car, a house, a wife, and children, everything complete. Tell me, studying for so many years, with such a huge cost in time and money, even if you succeed, it can't make up for the most beautiful years of your youth. If you fail, your life is practically ruined. This is too big a gamble. Therefore, I strongly advise that, for those with average intelligence, stop studying at a reasonable level, start working early. The opportunities in society are far greater than devoting all your energy to studying in an ivory tower. No matter how bad your current job is, as long as you try, you will surely find opportunities to succeed. Of course, if you don't try and the results are poor, don't blame me. I advise you not to gamble if you have such great ambition and determination. In society, you can still achieve something. Starting work early will help you seize more opportunities, but you need to handle it according to your own and your family's specific circumstances. Marriage is a turning point that many people easily overlook, but in reality, it's a very important one. I hope everyone, during university when emotions are still innocent, will fall in love, at least experience your first love. Don't let that phase pass with only unrequited love, because first love, though beautiful, is truly the most foolish. Both parties have no realistic thoughts about the future, only pure love. This may be a beautiful theme in literature, something to reminisce about in old age, but if you consider it a necessary condition for marriage, it's definitely a mistake. I'm not ruling out that some people succeed on their first try and have a happy marriage, but the probability is very low, simply because first love lacks practicality. But I want to teach you that marriage needs practicality. It's an opportunity to change your life realistically, or at least a chance for a happy life. Surely, many will oppose me, saying, if that's the case, what's the meaning of love and marriage? You're destroying the few beautiful things in life. But on the contrary, I'm teaching you how to have a truly happy and beautiful marriage. When I talk about practicality in marriage, I don't just mean economics, but also the spiritual aspect. Hundreds of years ago, people valued matching family backgrounds in marriage. Hundreds of years later, this matching is still not outdated. On the contrary, we need to add spiritual values, such as compatibility in education, awareness, and intellectual level. This isn't to discriminate against farmers, but to speak realistically. Can a highly educated woman be happy in a marriage with a farmer who dropped out early to work in the fields? If so, that's a story for movies and art form. In reality, it certainly doesn't bring happiness. The reason why is obvious to everyone. On this basis, when the quality gap between two people is too large, I won't say 100%, but in most cases, there will be feelings of regret. So, finding a life partner who is spiritually compatible with you is reasonable. I want to emphasize the economic aspect, but I can't explain it in detail. You need to reflect on it yourself. Nothing is difficult, only those with strategy succeed. What you can achieve in this society depends on whether you're decisive enough, whether with others or yourself. I can only say that if you can find someone you both love, with similar spiritual levels, and who can bring you endless growth potential or tangible benefits, that's wonderful. As for which adjectives in that sentence can be removed, you decide. For those with a cold mindset, think more about life's turning points. For those with kindness, we should still seek a good wife, a good husband's family. No need to be extreme, but don't just focus on the appearance of a poor but handsome guy or a poor but beautiful girl. This turning point is extremely important. Remember that. Choosing a profession is another critical turning point. With jobs, most of the time, we're forced to work in roles we don't like, dealing with people we don't like. But when an external opportunity appears, you have the right to choose. That's choosing a profession. For this turning point, many may encounter it. When choosing a profession, refer to the previous part one shared. In short, the turning points I mention aren't the only ones in life, but are ones you can control. If you consider being born into a wealthy family a turning point, that's not wrong, but it's meaningless. These types of turning points aren't unique either. For example, you may have multiple chances to choose a profession. So, if you miss a few turning points, don't worry too much. Life is long and wide. You'll surely make mistakes a few times. Learn from them, heed reminders, and you can walk an increasingly broader path. Health is the top priority, and almost everyone agrees with this. But in reality, I noticed that almost everyone, to some extent, doesn't cherish their health. I don't want to dwell too much on this topic, just want to seriously remind you once more. Don't spend the first 40 years trading health for money, only to later use money to buy back health. Without health, your quality of life is gone. I advise you to at least once a day, think about how you're still healthy and feel happiness from that. Don't make excuses that if you don't do something, the outcome will be terrible. In life, just one long stay in a hospital bed will drastically change your perspective. Learn to put yourself in others' shoes. If you regularly adopt this attitude, you'll learn tolerance. Tolerance will broaden your heart and make you a person of unique character. You often complain that your boss is too harsh, your friends are unfair, but have you ever asked yourself what you'd do if you were the boss or that person? Don't say things like, "If I were the boss, I'd pay employees more and give them more leave." Think carefully and ask yourself honestly. If you were the boss, you might be even harsher. If you were that person, you might be even worse than them. Regularly thinking this way will gradually calm your anger, help you understand others' needs and traits, and allow you to respond more appropriately. Empathy will help you gain more good friends, and in long-term collaborations, it will help you earn respect. But sometimes, even after putting yourself in their shoes, you still find the other person unreasonable and outrageous. So why hesitate? Respond more forcefully. Empathy doesn't mean always yielding. In real society, a person who's only seen as having a good character often doesn't succeed in society. A bit of toughness will elevate your status in your social circle. This is also a subtle psychological factor, which I'll explain further. Evaluate everything from the worst-case perspective. Whatever you do, think of the worst outcome first. This will help you lower unrealistic expectations of success and reduce the sense of failure when things don't go as planned. It also helps you analyze the process more calmly, avoiding overestimating your abilities. And by thinking this way, even if you fail, you'll feel in control, enhancing your overall perspective. For example, when investing money in the stock market or business, subjectively, treat that money as if it doesn't exist when calculating your assets. Don't consider stock values as guaranteed. When calculating an asset's value, use the most cautious estimates and don't include uncertain values unless you can immediately convert them to cash. Otherwise, you'll never know their true value tomorrow. Within a certain objective limit, stay cautious about your advantages and exaggerate potential difficulties. This will help you prepare more thoroughly and strive to overcome them. If you make this a habit, you'll reap great benefits. Be wary of opportunities that seem too good to be true. Imagine a nation that's gone through decades of economic and social upheavals. The 50s and 60s with basic equality, the 70s with signs of change, the 80s with pioneers getting rich first, and the 90s with prosperity from sound policies. Those who accumulated capital early are now massive conglomerates, holding most of the wealth or having shady ties between government and business. In today's context, with wealth already distributed, social classes formed, and societal rules established, do you still dream of getting rich overnight? Based on this logic, for those at the bottom of society, seemingly perfect opportunities are often unreliable. Events like pie falling from the sky aren't 100% traps, but at least 90% are. Think carefully. In this society, who's obligated to help you unconditionally? Helping others, if it happens, only occurs when the helper reaches a certain moral state and feels spiritual satisfaction. In this world, there's no such thing as help without conditions. I'm not denying all opportunities. I'm just reminding you that when faced with seemingly perfect opportunities, you need to keep your eyes wide open, think critically, and put yourself in the shoes of the opportunity giver to see their motives. Consider all possible distortions of that opportunity, then act decisively. For example, do you easily believe that casinos in other countries aren't manipulated? Do you easily believe a business partner suddenly calls saying they have a cheap shipment to sell you with no strings attached? Do you easily believe a subordinate sincerely says you're too tired and need rest? Do you easily believe a friend at a party promises to lend you all the money you need? Do you easily believe a soy sauce shop suddenly holds a promotion with a 1 million cash prize? Things like these, if you calmly think and directly verify, you'll uncover the real opportunity behind the bubbles. Many don't understand how wealth in these countries is transferred and accumulated. I can tell you that the system for ordinary people is now quite robust, almost eliminating the possibility of legally getting rich overnight. However, if you've accumulated a significant sum, say 100 million, through connections, experience, and legal or illegal tactics, you can easily double it. If you feel wealth building is reaching a ceiling, at this stage, talking about the system is meaningless. Only human factors, loyalty, and emotions remain. Everything I've said applies to foreign countries. If there's any coincidence, it's just that, coincidence. Don't try to please everyone. It's the most foolish thing to do. Surprisingly, many in society want to achieve this. In reality, pleasing everyone is impossible. In real society, conflicts exist everywhere. At school, work, community organizations, even in families. Conflicts may be deep or shallow, but they're always there. Trying to please everyone demands a huge amount of time and energy for an impossible task. Moreover, pleasing everyone means your relationships with others are just average, nothing special. The only benefit you might gain is superficial awards like role model or ambassador of kindness, but even these don't bring real benefits. Conversely, having one or two enemies in a group can easily bring you more benefits, like respect and closer friendships. This is human nature. When someone in a group shows strength, even with some unreasonable actions, they can still gain more support. However, this toughness shouldn't be pushed to extremes, as that backfires. How do you find balance in such extreme situations? I suggest the following approaches. Number 1, hate those everyone hates and love those everyone loves. This is the most common way. Number 2, choose the right group or team with potential, especially when you're caught between two people you can't afford to offend. Take a bold stand once. Number 3, stay neutral, don't take sides. Some think this will offend both sides, but that's not true. Offending both only happens during intense conflicts. In the long run, whichever side wins, you'll benefit, but this requires high skill, as clumsy neutrality leads to bad outcomes. I've listed feasible methods, and they're not the only ones. You can freely combine them based on specific situations. No relationship is eternal, only benefits are. What's your attitude toward money? We often see on TV shows, magazines, and newspapers that people are taught how to handle money. They often encourage people to disregard money, elevating the spirit to a nobler realm. But in society, there are no such teachings. Society doesn't tell you how important or unimportant money is. It shows you through countless realities that money is your second most loyal friend in this world. Your first loyal friend is your dog. As long as you're breathing, your bank card won't abandon you for someone else. That's money's attitude toward you. So how should you treat money? From your first step into society, always maintain a greedy attitude toward money. This is one of your strongest motivators. It's hard to imagine someone indifferent to money becoming a holder of vast wealth. Always craving money will make you think sharper, act faster, and make more accurate decisions, helping you accumulate more in every situation. Never lose your focus on money, and don't sacrifice needlessly. The only exception is when facing a robber with a knife or gun. If the money on you isn't worth risking your life, hand it over obediently. Many spirited young people may not understand this, thinking that if everyone acted like you, it would embolden criminals, and where would society go? But I never elevate this issue to that level. I just want to tell you that if you want to live a long, comfortable life, it's not worth risking it with such people. Whether you're inadvertently aiding them isn't a big issue. Think about it. If there were a better path, how many would choose robbery? Death comes only once, and I hope, in the end, you can pass away in peace, surrounded by your loved ones. Not every effort is rewarded. This is a hard truth. Don't think that what you put in will equal what you get out. That's just a childhood theory. In this society, no matter how much sweat and tears you pour in, sometimes you still face empty-handedness. This disappointment and heartbreak, I believe everyone has experienced it. But please don't cry, as those tears only leave a salty taste on your tongue. I recall a detail from Go matches. A player never shows immediate disappointment or joy after winning or losing. Instead, they calmly review the game. What I mean here is, before you put in effort, understand that rewards aren't guaranteed. Once you know the outcome, review the process, learn from it, and be ready to start over. You may think you gained nothing, but in the process of striving, you've gained a lot, at least spiritually. Train yourself to be a commander calm in the face of victory or defeat, yet also a meticulous, cautious special forces soldier in every situation. How do you become an outstanding strategic investor? What's the most important thing for an investor? Not the method of making money. The most important thing is vision. Even if you know nothing about earning money, as long as you invest in the right person, you can gain significant returns. Similarly, even if you live simply and don't earn much, you can still become a brilliant strategic investor. Here, I'm not just talking about financial investment, but a more promising form, strategic human investment. For example, a neighbor named Wang San, an entrepreneur who quickly became a millionaire through his business methods. Unfortunately, he became addicted to gambling and lost everything in a few years. Those who once flattered him now shun him. In his darkest moment, he even had to borrow 300,000 to buy rice. Seeing the shame in Wang San's eyes, would you lend him money? Lending or not could both be mistakes. Before answering, you need to thoroughly analyze Wang San's current situation. There's no doubt he's at the lowest point in his life, but the skills he honed in business haven't been lost. With the right opportunity, it's not impossible for him to rebuild his career. The key issue now is whether Wang San is determined to quit gambling. When faced with whether to lend him money, don't rush to answer. Instead, invite him to your home, prepare some dishes, and share a few drinks. After a few drinks, Wang San might open up emotionally and tell you everything, and you might learn he hasn't been to a casino in months. The few $100,000 he wants to borrow isn't for rice, but for travel expenses to the south. Wang San still has some connections in the south, and this time, he wants to escape his current life. You've been friendly and caring, and in the end, you decide to lend him $1 million, making it clear that this money is for him to use. Whether for gambling or travel, it's up to him. After all, you're just helping a friend. Hearing this, Wang San is deeply moved. If he doesn't succeed, so be it. But if he does, won't you be on the fast track to wealth? That $1 million is a risky strategic investment. Analyzing Wang San's situation is an investment evaluation process. Inviting him for drinks, probing his emotions, and learning more is a form of field research. If you frequently make such investments, I'm certain your chances of hitting the jackpot are far higher than buying lottery tickets. This example may seem big, and some may not grasp it immediately. So, I'll give smaller examples from life. For instance, in your company, there's someone always wanting to jump ship and is truly talented. When the boss dislikes him and others shun him, you can invest emotionally in him appropriately. Try it. It's simple because, in such situations, people often believe they can discern true friends. Approaching him at this time will surely make you a true friend. With just a little emotional investment, you could gain a lifelong friend. If he succeeds after switching jobs, he'll never forget you. Even if he doesn't, besides gaining a close friend, you lose nothing. Similarly, in class, when there are kids from rural areas or poor families, if you care for them while others mock or ignore them, their gratitude will surprise you. Need more examples? I think you've grasped my point. What's missing is just action. Always remember, adding flowers to brocade is easy for anyone, but sending charcoal in snowy weather is truly hard. But charcoal isn't given for free. You need to analyze carefully and only help when you have reason to believe you'll be rewarded. Look at society. When people donate to poor children, everyone loves donating to the high-achieving ones. But why aren't poor, underperforming kids helped as much? Many of them aren't lazy, they just can't keep up with others academically. Sadly, our education system never acknowledges this and only blames lazy students. Back to the main point. In an era where kindness is fading, perhaps only those who've suffered can empathize with others in similar plights. Finally, I want to remind you that since it's called a risky investment, there's certainly risk. Wang San might take the money to gamble or might not help you after succeeding. That's the risk. But if the benefits far outweigh the risks, this could be the best investment of your life.